No one wants to buy Jeep, Ram, Dodge anymore. They're just old news. And while there's some tricks up their sleeve here in coming years or coming months, the fact remains is the escalation of price tags have been just out of control. I mean, look at the Jeep Wrangler. Nobody wants those anymore. They're overpriced, they're under-reliable, and honestly, they need a drastic facelift. Now, there's been talk about, yes, a mid-year facelift here, change on some of the Wranglers, but realistically, the quality or lack thereof, and the overall style, people are just getting bored with them. I mean, they're a lot of money to get into a Wrangler. Then Jeep Grand Cherokees, definitely another overpriced piece when you think about you can get modern-day Benzes and BMWs that are in the space. And Jeep Grand Cherokees are trying to fight for that luxury car segment. Matter of fact, got so desperate they realized that the Cherokees aren't selling, so they literally pitched that entire line. The Cherokee is no longer available for 2024 because nobody wants them. Nobody wants any of these vehicles. And as a result, Jeep, Ram, or Stellantis essentially, they are trying to grossly incentivize. As a matter of fact, what we're talking about is $4,000 naturally is pretty much a default motivation to try to bring customers in. There's even talks $12,000, $15,000 incentives to get people to buy the 2023 Rams, but the sad reality is we're rolling into 2024. I've always said this, and you know if you've watched the channel that realistically this is the time to buy. And if you want something from that brand, if for some reason you want the most unpopular pickup truck brand, and this is in fact the time to buy it, well, yeah, don't wait. This is probably the time to start thinking about it, digging in, cashing in on some of these incentives. But the reality is shop around. There's lots of great options. Ram does have something up their sleeve though, and I have to talk about that because they're trying to refresh the brand. We already know that they're talking about doing things that are putting them up on a higher platform, essentially saying, hey, we're more of an upscale brand, and people aren't buying it. That's the sad reality. A lot of these vehicles just don't have the quality of the build and fit and finish to justify that. The Stellantis group are so hard up. As a matter of fact, they pretty much own the list of least selling vehicles on the market. I mean, just look at this list. The Ram 2500 is actually the top of the list, about 460 days of supply. The Dodge Hornet at about 432 days supply. The 3500, that's the one-ton Ram, is about 367 days supply. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer is about 336 days supply. Chrysler Pacifica is about 330 some odd days supply as well, and that's the hybrid version. Nobody wants it. That vehicle's outgrown its britches already. That followed up by the F-Type Jaguar, which we know is on the way out, and as well as the 5 Series BMW are following suit. The Dodge Challenger is about 273 days supply, as well as the Dodge Ram, or the Ram 1500, still has a whopping 238 days supply on the market. So nobody wants these. There's way too much supply, not enough demand. If people are looking for a half ton, they're looking at the Toyotas, they're looking at other alternatives, and even Ford, you know, the Lightning, they have some options. Even though the Lightning's not selling, prices are too high. People are done with being upside down on their loans and mortgages. Inflation's high as well as interest rates are high. Trucks are expensive, way too expensive. And that's where it leaves some of these in a lurch. Great brands, Chevy, GM's got some options. They're lower cost than most of your average Dodges. And to add insult to injury why these aren't selling is Ram. Currently they're selling transaction prices just over $60,000. And going back pre-pandemic, the Ram 1500 actually had an average transaction price of about $42,000 and change. That's a whopping $18,000 increase in the short 5-year time span. Yes, calculate 43% increase in the increase. Yes, that's 43% increase in pricing in the last 5 years. Puts them pretty much outside on the street. Nobody wants to get that. Everybody's getting suckered and done with this, and people are starting to learn, and now Dodge and Ram and Jeep, and they're not able to sell vehicles. And we know Jeep hasn't done anything too exciting. As I said already, Wranglers, they're very, very highly overpriced. Base model Jeep, this is the cheapest you can get for a current Wrangler. For which you get a bucket of bolts and a soft top with the 2 doors, and you're gonna pay over $50,000 for that. Overpriced, unreliable. People are getting bored of the look and the style and the durability of those vehicles. And even though they're selling high and they're hot on the used car market, still not sure why, but there's a strange phenomenon there and a popularity that the young drivers really enjoy and attach themselves to. The bottom line is a lot of the Jeeps, people are getting bored. They're not selling as quickly as they once were because A, they're overpriced, B, they're basically unreliable, and C, it's just, you know, it's just too much and not enough change. Any Wrangler that you're looking at currently today, take a look around these vehicles and you'll find there's not a whole lot has changed. Even when you get into the 4-doors, you get into the pickup truck versions. I mean, you get these vehicles and you get the pickup truck where you can load a little load along there, throw a little load of sand or gravel in the back, and you think you've got a pickup truck, but you still have your Jeep. People are just not interested in that anymore. It seems too niche, too clicky, and just quite frankly, people aren't buying it. Highly incentivized these days because, again, the Stellantis group is trying to throw incentives at them with the Jeep, Grand Cherokees, Challengers, and the Chargers. You know, they did try the electrified market there, and they've learned pretty much the hard way that nobody wants that either. So they're having a very difficult time, Dodge. Yeah, that's right, selling a lot of their even electrified or their hot rod cars and relying on the old Hemi name, which is kind of getting old too. I mean, hemispherical. I mean, people are just getting sort of done with that and starting to see through this lack of transparency. And those vehicles clearly are not selling all that well either. Hence the long wait time and the over availability on the market. Now, there are some things that Dodge is trying, or Ram's trying to do for this upcoming generation. Have you heard of Ram Charger? Yeah, they're creating what they call a FEV, or basically plug-in hybrid vehicle. They're saying, hey, we don't care about range. We don't need these endless charging network that a lot of these other manufacturers, like, obviously Ford's gone down the Lightning as well as the Mustang Mach-E. And Dodge is saying, you know what? We don't need that nonsense. We have our own solution. And what they're doing is they're coming out with a vehicle, a pickup truck, full size. You're able to enjoy a 1500 and drive for a long duration on pure electric charge. Yes, that's right. They're coming out with a new solution upcoming, and we'll see if that's enough to bring in new marketplace and new customers, because currently they're suffering and they're probably underselling all of their competition. That's right. Basically, Dodge and Ram are marketing themselves of having unlimited battery electric range. Yeah, basically the Ram Charger uses a gas generator to help charge the batteries that are stored on board. And they're claiming unlimited range, which everybody loves that. I mean, when you talk about Teslas and the range anxiety, it's real. Dodge and Ram claim they have a solution. Now, while they think they're clever, the bottom line is they're still using that gas generator, emitting those emissions throughout the air, and ultimately that gas generator will stop generating once it runs out of gas. So it's not definitely infinite, and clearly does need to be topped up and needs to be running on petrol as it always has. So it's not kind of an endless cycle of free driving experiences, no. But why fit the Ram Charger with a 400-volt DC quick charger or fast charger? Surely you probably won't be charging it anytime at a public system, because they don't make those types of scenarios. Fortunately, though, they are looking at that type of charger setup for your home installation. It does happen to use 92 kilowatt hour batteries, and they say they're good for 145 miles of free range running. This new Ram promises to put out a massive 663 horsepower and about out of 615 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60, 4.4 seconds. That is supercar speed there, my friends. It is promising to tow up to 14,000 pounds and have about 2,700 payload. So while it doesn't fully meet the intent of shedding emissions, it does in fact meet you halfway. It's essentially a coarse version of a plug-in hybrid with high output. And, back when Ferrari and the 296 GTBs or the SF90s, they're coming out with vehicles that are plug-in hybrid, give you performance add-on there with the electric angle, and you can charge up a little bit in certain modes. Looks like Dodge is sort of adopting their own version of similar installation. Now, it does promise to put out great performance, some freewheeling on electric power, but ultimately it's not the real deal yet. We'll see. In fact, though, it is promising whether people get pulled into the Dodge marketplace. We know their competition from GM isn't quite there, and we definitely know Ford is either going all in with electric and the Lightning, which hasn't been very popular, as well as the ICE, which also clearly they're trying to transition away, and Ford even has admitted that they're probably going to have to dive somewhere slightly in the middle and look at some sort of hybrid activity in a lot of their full-size trucks, because clearly they're not selling on one hand and the other one's being obsoleted, so they're having to come up with other solutions. And maybe this is where Dodge and Ram are able to strike when their iron's hot. But the bottom line is, the way it currently sits, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler, Stellantis as a whole is not selling all that well. Nobody's buying them. Nobody seems to care. and it's going to need something major, overhaul, a refresh, as well as a really aggressive incentivized packaging to actually bring more customers back over to the brand, because the way it is right now, they're not selling vehicles. And with all of that said, right over there, you know what? That auto loan crisis is real. People are losing their shirts. They're upside down in their loans. I'm going to explain all about it. You definitely want to check that video out. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.